A year ago, I did the absolute best trip of my life, which was the Ha Giang Loop around northern Vietnam. This is known as the Extreme North motorbike trip. As I say, it was the best experience I've ever done. And in the 13 months since I did it to now, I have received daily messages asking me questions and advice about the tour itself. And a lot of the questions I get are the same questions each time. So I'm making this video covering everything you need to know about the Ha Giang Loop tour based off the questions that you guys ask me. A couple months after I did the tour, I made a video then with everything that I knew about the tour, how I booked it, everything I knew then that I thought people would want to know. I made that video and it is on my channel. It's linked below and at the end of this video. And I highly recommend after this video, you go check that out. So there are two questions I get asked all the time. The questions are, did I do it with a tour operator, and if so, who with? And can someone with zero motorbike experience do the Ha Giang Loop? So yes, I did it with a tour. I did it with Jasmine Tours. There's a website which is linked below. At the time of recording, you can't book through the website, but there is a contact form that you can message them and book it in that way. They also have a hostel in Ha Giang, which is called Jasmine Hostel. You can go there and book the tour there. Or if you're in Hanoi, you can go to Old Backpackers Hostel and they have a desk there where you can go and book in with them there. I recommend that you do it while you're in Hanoi because from Hanoi to Ha Giang is an 8-hour bus ride. Included in the price that you pay is the transfer from Hanoi up to Ha Giang and back again. Sidebar information that you should know, Ha Giang itself is a town which is the start of the loop. There's a road that goes out the top of Ha Giang and then it loops around the north of Vietnam and comes back in. There is one road from pretty much the rest of Vietnam into the Ha Giang Loop. That's why it's called the Ha Giang Loop, even though you pass through Ha Giang to start it. Now this is the question I get asked the most, like all the time. Can someone with zero motorbike experience do the tour? I can't in good conscience say yes to that. I can't do it. It's called the Extreme North motorbike trip for a reason. These roads are tough. Some parts it's just road and then cliff, some parts it's just narrow road, bushes, some parts it's narrow road, cliff, narrow road, cliff, cliff, gravel, just dirt, just literally ground cliff for however long you can see. Like it's tough. It gets really tough. And the thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration isn't necessarily the experience of being able to ride a motorbike, but it's confidence on the bike. I can teach you how to ride a motorbike in an hour or two. Confidence on a bike is something that's built up over time of riding bikes. And because the road conditions are so tough, you want that confidence on a bike. So my advice is this. It's highly unlikely that you're flying over to Vietnam just to do the Ha Giang Loop. It's more likely that you're going to be traveling Vietnam for a bit beforehand. Maybe you're even traveling Southeast Asia for however long beforehand, but there's a chance that you'll be in the area before you do the loop. Get as much experience on a moped or a motorbike as you can before you go and do the tour. Even if you're just traveling up Vietnam for like 2 weeks before you get to Hanoi and then you want to do the tour, just try and get as much experience in on motorbikes as you can to build up that bike confidence. I was in Southeast Asia, mainly Indonesia, for the 4 months prior to me doing this tour. And I read the mopeds daily, but I was only riding the automatic ones. The ones they give you have clutches. I'm not exaggerating when I say I was given a 7-minute lesson in how to ride the bike with a clutch. The guy literally went, do this and this to go up a gear, do this and this to go down the gear, do this and this to go into neutral, do this and this to turn it on, go try. And it sent me on the main road to go and practice. And I went down the road, came back up, went, yeah, I'm good. Don't get me wrong, that first day was a pretty sketchy one, learning how to ride the bike with a clutch, going up and down mountains and bendy, very, very bendy roads and all of that. But because I had so much experience on a bike before and I was confident in riding bikes, it was fine. So that's my advice. So let's go through some of the other questions I've received. What month did I do it in? I completed the Ha Giang Loop in September, which is probably the latest in the year that you want to do it. The reason for that is you're now entering their winter period, which is more likely to get rain. We got 1 day of rain, which was actually the last day of the tour, so we were quite lucky with that, but I know that the week before and the week after, from speaking to people, were rained out. So I was very, very lucky with when I did it. The next question is, how did I book it? I went to Old Backpackers Hostel in Hanoi and booked it with Jasmine Tours at their desk there. The only reason I picked Jasmine Tours, because there is more than one operator, the reason I picked Jasmine Tours is because the hostel I was staying in is called Buffalo Hostel. Everyone in this hostel was wearing a t-shirt, which was like a I completed the Ha Giang Loop t-shirt. I wanted one of them t-shirts, so I booked with Jasmine Tours. The next one isn't really a question. Basically, this guy messaged me and asked, how did I book the tour? And I explained what I've just said to you guys about I booked it with Jasmine Tours. 2 months later, the guy then messaged me back, and messages like this are why I create content. I want to inspire you guys. I want to share these amazing experiences that I have around the world and inspire you guys to get out and do the same. So the message is, hey mate, just wanted to say that I finished the Ha Giang Loop and honestly I had the best time of my life. I had high expectations and I wasn't let down. It was challenging but so much fun as well. I met the greatest people, so did I by the way. I met some amazing people in the Ha Giang Loop. In fact, I met a couple of people that I ended up traveling Laos with for like 3 weeks after it, just because they were so cool. Sorry, sidetracked. I met the greatest people and made some new friends. Thanks for the inspiration. If I hadn't asked you, I probably wouldn't have gone in the first place. That is why I make content, and that makes me so fucking happy. Okay, so this next question, I'm basically going to summarize it, is they were asking, they had a 4-day turnaround from them landing in Hanoi and then leaving Hanoi. Was that enough to do the tour? So I'm going to use this question to sort of give you my advice on how much time you should dedicate to do the Ha Giang Loop tour. To answer the question bluntly, a week. Now the reason I say a week is because Jasmine offered 2 tours. They offer a 3-day tour and a 4-day tour. I just forgot to use my hands then. Now to get from Hanoi to Ha Giang is an 8 to 10 hour coach ride. You can either get that coach first thing in the morning or you can get it in the evening. I recommend you get it in the morning because if you get it in the morning, you then spend the whole day on the coach, you then get to Ha Giang and you have the evening there where you then stay in Jasmine Hostel, sleep, and then you start the tour the next day. If you get the evening one, you drive throughout the night and then you do the tour the next morning. If you don't sleep on that coach ride, which a lot of people do struggle to get a decent night's sleep on transport, you're gonna be fucked. So I highly recommend that you get the transfer in the morning the day before. So right there, that is 1 day of just getting from Hanoi up to Ha Giang. Then they offer the 3 or 4 day tours. I highly recommend the 4-day tour. The reason I recommend it is because you take the 3rd day and the 4th day at a lot slower pace. On the 3rd day, you get to go to a waterfall and you get some incredible views that you would skip if you did the 3-day tour. And the 4th day is a lot more chilled out. It's a slower ride back, but you get some awesome experiences. You get to go see how Vietnamese people used to make and still make clothes. You get to go to one of their shops. You just get some really cool experiences that you don't get on the 3-day tour. So I think the small price difference between the 2 tours is more than worth it. And also, it's unlikely you're going to do this again. This is a once in a lifetime sort of tour. So you want to make the most of it. Do the 4 days. So that is now 5 days taken up of getting to Ha Giang and then doing the tour. Getting back from Ha Giang to Hanoi, the day you finish the tour, you get back in the like mid-afternoon. You then have like a few hours to relax, have a beer, celebrate the fact that you completed the tour with everyone else, chill out in the hostel, get some food, whatever. And then you get the coach back to Hanoi that evening, which gets you back into Hanoi about 5 a.m. That next day is basically a write-off. You're going to be exhausted from the tour and from probably not sleeping particularly well on the coach and just being up at like 5. You're like 5 a.m. you then got to wake up because, you know, you just arrived back. Personally, I got about an hour's sleep on that coach. I could not sleep on the way back. So day 6 is now a write-off. You need that day to just basically do nothing, recover. Maybe go get a cheap Vietnamese spa day or massage or something like that, but have a relaxing, calm day. And I would recommend just having day 7 as well, have an extra day, just chill. If you haven't already explored Hanoi, you have already explored Hanoi, just relax. Go get some Vietnamese coffee, go have a massage, whatever, but just relax. But I would recommend you dedicate a week to doing the Ha Giang Loop. Okay, so this is one of the other big questions I get asked, and that is, do you need a UK bike license to do the tour? This is where my advice gets a little bit sketchy. So, I didn't have a UK bike license when I do the tour. The majority of tourists going to Asia and traveling Vietnam don't have UK bike licenses. When I got to Old Backpackers Hostel and spoke to the Jasmine tour people, they said, do you have a bike license? I said, no. They said, do you have any experience on a bike? I said, yes. They said, okay. In the eyes of the tour operator and booking the tour, you don't need a UK bike license. In the eyes of the police, you do. From first-hand experience, I'm aware that whether you have a bike license or don't have a bike license, the police are going to pull you over and they're not going to speak any English to you. Even if they can, they're not going to. The only language they understand when they pull you over at the side of the road in Vietnam is money. Take from that what you will. I'm sure you get what I'm saying here. So I actually posed this question to Jasmine and asked them, what do you do if we get pulled over? They explained to me that there is one checkpoint going in and out of Ha Giang that is 11 kilometers out of Ha Giang, and it's actually, the road are marked of how far away you are from Ha Giang. It's marked up, so you can tell you're 11 kilometers away. At the 11 kilometer mark, there is a cafe, and the police sit there and they will pull over tourists. What Jasmine do is they send a tour guide up ahead. He will then come back and let them know, is there a police checkpoint or is there not? Because it's not always there. When I entered the Ha Giang Loop, they weren't there. What they do in the event that they are there is that they will come back and they'll then ferry you across the checkpoint. They'll jump on your bike, drive you across, and then leave you like a kilometer or so at the other side of the checkpoint, come back, get everyone else. And they'll do that. The reason I know that there's a cafe there is because on our way out of the Ha Giang Loop on our last day, we drove said through checkpoint, we got to 11 kilometer mark, and there was a little there was police cars at the side of the road, and they were in this little cafe. They didn't give a fuck.
There is sometimes a police roadblock up ahead to catch tourists. So we're going slower and our driver's scouting it out to make sure that there's no police there. Okay, they were pulled up at the side of the road, but they were in a cafe. So we drove past them. Home stretch, freedom!
You technically, in the eyes of the law, need a motorbike license. I keep saying UK bike license, but like whatever country you're from, and then that converted into an international driving permit to be able to legally ride the motorbikes in Vietnam. This guy has also asked me, do I know if it's all good to do the tour in June? Doing it in June is actually ideal because that is the height of their summer, so you're more likely going to get clear days. You're probably not going to get any, it's very unlikely you're going to get any rain at all. So it's probably a really good time to do it. The one thing I'll say though is it will be fucking hot, so take some sun cream. This guy's also asked me, do I know if the 3-day loop would be any better for beginners? So going back to what I said earlier about if you haven't got much experience or no experience on a motorbike, can you do the tour? No, it's no better doing the 3-day than the 4-day. The reason I say that is day one, easy roads. If you've got some, this is also why I recommend just getting some experience on a bike, because if you're confident on a bike, day one you're riding for like 5 hours, you're going to build up your experience then, and they're easy roads, they're proper roads. Day two is where the hard roads begin, and they go through to day 3. Don't get me wrong, you do get some breaks with like a normal road, but there's some really, really tough roads day 2 and day 3. Day 4, you're then coming back onto the main road that you came in on, and it's easy road back out of the loop. But regardless, day 2 and 3 do take some really sketchy roads. So if you're a beginner on a bike, it's the same difficulty whichever tour you do. So another question I've been asked is, how do you pay for the tour? I paid in card. You can also pay cash in Vietnamese currency. This person's also asked, do they provide all the riding gear? So they will provide you with a bike, a helmet, elbow pads, and shin and knee pads. On the same vein as that, someone asked me, do they provide rain gear? No, but if you're traveling Southeast Asia, you should probably have like a raincoat anyway, because it's tropical weather, it could rain at any point. But if it does start raining, they will take you somewhere to go buy a poncho, which is what they did on our last day. They took us to a shop, we all bought ponchos. The same person actually asked me about the age range of the tour. Now, the tour I was on was mostly comprised of people from early 20s to late 30s, but there were a few older couples there. Don't want to guesstimate and be rude or anything, but I'd say in their 50s. There were a couple couples doing it as well as like a few father-son, father-daughter, mother-son, mother-daughter dynamics as well. Imagine there is probably a lower limit on the age range, but I also can't imagine that you're going to be taking your fucking 10-year-old son or daughter to do the Ha Giang Loop. But I imagine there is a lower limit, I just don't know what that is. But you need to be experienced and comfortable on a bike. But I would say that there is no upper range. Also, someone commented on my YouTube video saying that they were 61 years old and they were going to go do it with their 22-year-old daughter, and I thought that was fucking awesome. This person's also asked me, can you get private rooms during the tour? If you've watched my vlogs of it, you'll know that the rooms that you stay in are basically a big room with mattresses all over the floor. That's the only option for where you're staying. That is the accommodation. But in my opinion, that was half of the fun and half the experience, was just everyone piling in together and just enjoying it. Another question I've been asked is, did I see any couples doing the tour on the same bike, so having a pile-on passenger? Yes, but Jasmine did recommend that anyone that's doing it with a partner upgrades. You have to pay a bit more to the bigger bikes. I can't remember exactly how big the bikes were, but they were quite a bit bigger and more powerful. They're like proper dirt bikes, but they advise that you upgrade to these bigger bikes if you're going to be doing it with 2 people on the same bike. Something that they noted in this question is that their travel insurance only covers them up to 125cc. That is something to definitely look into before you do this tour, because it is very dangerous. Where does your travel insurance cover you to? Does it cover your motorbikes? If you haven't got a bike license, will it cover your motorbikes? Full transparency, my travel insurance didn't cover me for this. That didn't even occur to me until I'd already done the tour, but that was a risk I took for me being ignorant. Someone else has asked me, did I feel rushed along the tour taking photos and videos? No, but don't expect to be able to have the freedom of just stopping whenever you want. I was on a tour of about 60 people. From what I could tell, I was the only content creator on that tour. And there was quite a few times where I actively just stopped riding or went back to go and take a photo because they all stop at viewpoints. They'll stop at all like really, don't get me wrong, the viewpoints they stop at are fantastic. There's a reason they stop there. But being a photographer, there's other points that I saw photos that I wanted. So I would just stop or I'd turn around and quickly go back and take a photo. The guides won't stop. They will keep going. But luckily it is like basically just one road the whole way. So as long as you're fucking quick, you can catch up quite fast. So in that respect, as a creative, as a photographer, like there was places I wanted to stop where I couldn't stop, but there were plenty of stops along the way that you can get some awesome photos. But as I say, you'll see in the vlog, there's a few points where we stopped, got some photos, and I was like, I'm going back down the road 5 minutes because I saw a better photo down there. Another question is, what do you do with your larger suitcases? They advise you only take enough stuff that you need for the tour for like a few days worth of clothes. Obviously I had my camera stuff. Everything else you can leave in Jasmine Hostel. This is another benefit of doing it with a tour, is because you can leave it with them. I put everything that I wasn't going to be taking on the tour with me in one of my backpacks, so I had my camera bag and a backpack, and left it in their luggage room. It goes without saying that there is always risks with leaving your stuff behind, but I felt comfortable enough that I left my MacBook in that bag, in their luggage room for 4 days. We're fine. I mean, it's there, so, you know. And the final question is, was there a lot of tourists in the loop? I hope it wasn't too crowded. So I imagine if you did it in the height of summer, for example, it's probably gonna be busier. We had a very good experience in that we had pretty much every stop to ourselves or with like one other group, so it wasn't too crowded at all. Roads were quiet. It was really good. But I can imagine that if you do it in the more popular months, it's probably gonna get busier. That's a trade-off you're gonna make for better weather, but maybe more people. They do these tours every week, so there's gonna be fluctuations in the amount of people on each tour. So I wouldn't specifically plan around the fact there might be loads of people, but it's just a risk. So that is it. That is absolutely everything you guys have asked me over the last 13 months. As I say, there is a lot of repeated questions, so I haven't got thousands of questions to give you, but that is everything I've been asked over the last 13 months about the Ha Giang Loop. Pair this video with the other video I made, which is linked up here and down in the description below, and I'm confident that you've got everything you need to know to do this tour. That being said, if there is anything I haven't covered or you've still got questions on, drop a comment down below. I reply to every single comment, or DM me over on Instagram as I reply to everyone. I'm always happy to give travel advice. I'm going to ask one thing of you, and that is that you drop a like on this video and help me push this out to other people looking to do this tour. And if you've got this far through the video, consider subscribing. It is the best way to support my channel. So that is it. If you're going to be doing the tour, stay safe, enjoy it. It is the best thing I've ever done.